Are you tired of hearing it's time to go back? From the middle of 2020 all the way until January, we've been hearing it's time to go back. And if you're tired of hearing it, my question is, why you ain't return? Where you at? Because you are not here. I've talked to men who wanted to date me, friends who would call themselves my sisters, actual family members, and more friends. And I've heard the same thing that keeps breaking my heart. They don't go. They don't go to church. And before you click off this video, I recognize that that's probably you too. If you clicked on this video and you are someone who does not go to church, or you have friends that don't go to church, I would encourage you to push pause, find yourself something to do, like chop your vegetables, wash your dishes, drive around the block for the next 10 minutes or so to give yourself time to be physically distracted while you mentally tune into what God might have to say to you. So I ask you to stick around because I have said some of these things and I've heard them as well. It's not about religion, it's about relationship. And God's cool, but Christians is crazy. And I would say that I have to agree. I get it. People have screwed up. In big and small ways, we have done way too much. And I probably wouldn't be committed to going to church either had one of my own leaders not pushed me to do so, just like our leaders have pushed us to return to work. So my grandmother was a matriarch in our family, and in my sophomore year of high school in the spring, I had a dream that she passed away. I called her up, obviously afraid, and told her what had happened. Her response to me was super southernly sweet, even though she spent most of her life in the north. She said, "Aw, Suge, I ain't going nowhere." That was the very last time that I talked to her. If it wasn't for that conversation, I would not remember the last time that I saw her. Because to this day, 20 something years later, I still don't know the last time that I saw the woman that I loved the most on the earth, or I felt like loved me the most at that time, excluding my mama. However, it was our last conversation, and although I can't remember every single detail, I do remember in that conversation she asked me if I had been going to church. I had a real excuse. I wasn't living with my mom. She was supposed to be deployed, and we were living with friends who didn't go to church. But she still encouraged me to try to get there. And like I said, that was our last conversation. And so the last words that you hear from someone have weight if you can remember them, especially if they're about to pass away. Jesus himself also had some last words for his students or his disciples. His last words to them were different than my grandmother's last words to me, although they were similar. My grandmother's last words were, "Go to church." Jesus' last words to his disciples, and one of the last times that they break bread and have dinner together, is, "I'm going to give you a new commandment, a new rule to follow. On top of all the laws that we've talked about in my lifetime and the ones that you may have read up in school, this is the new one. Love one another. As I have loved you, you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you're my disciples if you love each other." Now, Jesus knew that these would be some of his last words to his students. And he also knew that he was about to leave them in a way that could cause them to break. In fact, at this meal was a very person who was going to sell him out. I mean, collect a few coins to get this man that he followed for years killed. At this table was also someone who would tell him, I'll die for you. And he had to reply, "You're going to say that you don't even know me," 3 times. Sitting at the table with these two people who got it wrong, who messed up with Jesus, he chose not just to tell them to love, but to show them what love looked like. He still fed them. He still gave them bread. In fact, he got off of his seat, bent down on his knees to wash and clean their dusty, stanky, funky feet. He served them. He loved them, he led them, and he encouraged them. He lifted them up in a time that he knew would be important and what was going to be happening in the world. If you're interested in reading the story, it's in John 13. And Jesus says these things to these people because he knows what's coming. He knows the dangers that await them and how this pressure could break them up. We are just like those students. We, the church, we're just like your family, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your siblings, your cousins, your significant other, and your best friend for life. We are all similar because we are all hurt people who hurt people. The church will let you down. I'm sure it has, and it will continue to do so. But Jesus says these are the people that you're supposed to serve, that you're supposed to feed, that you're supposed to tend to and lay down your life for them just like he laid down his life for us. That's a big call. But Jesus didn't say it was a suggestion. He said that it was a command to this group of people. But this command that he gave to this group of people didn't just stop with them. It went beyond that first group of students. It also goes to us. Because if you say that you know and you love and you fear God, you are also called to teach other people about him. You can't fulfill this call. You can't walk this out alone. God did not make us to be alone. He did not make us to live in hurt and isolation away from love. He still asks for us to love. When he said turn the other cheek, do you think he was just talking about the people in the streets? He was talking about the people in your house, in his church. The church is simply a gathering of people. It's not a building. You got that part right. But who do you gather with? Who do you spend time with talking about the word of God intentionally and learning about it and sharing from your own pockets and resources what you have so that they too can have? If the answer is no one, I'm asking you to return. I'm asking you to come back, because when God chose you to know him and to love him, it wasn't just for you to stay home and be stingy with your affection. He chose you for you to have freedom and victory and love with hurt people who hurt people. So I lovingly ask you to please stop hiding behind the excuses that you have. And I realize that some people have experienced abuse by the church, and some people have experienced really hard things. If you've experienced abuse, your journey back to the people of God is going to look different. You do need time and space to heal. One of the things that my therapists, multiple of them, have said to me time and time again is that there is something called a therapeutic relationship. That although being hurt happens in the context of relationship, so does healing. Healing happens in community, safe community, with people who know better and are doing better. And so again, if you've experienced some type of abuse, I'm not pushing you to run back to the people that hurt you. I'm not pushing you to run back to that church. But I am asking you to get up on your feet and commit to yourself and your Father and his Son, who gave us this command, that you are going to make an effort to heal, that you are going to make an effort to meet with people, whether it's professionally or personally, and start to do some of that work to cover those wounds that are still open and gaping, and we can see them. If you haven't experienced full-blown abuse, but have had some difficult times with some difficult people who said that they follow Christ, then I am asking you to not be complacent in your area of retreat. It's been too long. It is no longer healthy. And I'm telling you that there is nowhere else in life that you can choose not to show up because of the people and remain healthy. You're not. You can't expect for things to get better if you check out and quit. If you don't show up to work because you don't like your boss, your financial health will suffer, and you'll probably find another job. But you're going somewhere because you need something, and because the world needs your input and contribution as well. If you don't show up to medical appointments because you don't like the front desk person, then you may miss preventable, diagnosable conditions. If you don't show up to the marketplace, meaning like where we spend money, then you're missing out on modern tools that can help make your life easier. And I get it. I don't know anyone who likes going to buy a car. Never met the person. But we know that we need them to get around, and other people need us to be able to get around. And so we go. And that's why you have to show up to church, meaning meeting with other believers on purpose to talk about and hear about God, because we need each other and we're called to love one another. If you hate the way the world is going right now, post-pandemic, and you believe God is going to do something about it, and he can, then partner with him. Partner with him and the people that he chose to be his significant other, his bride, his church. It's hard, but we're here. We're here. We women who need husbands and brothers. We girls who need our sister friends. We family who are working through our own traumas to try and heal and to make an effort to love you better. When you say you don't go to church, what you're really saying is that you are refusing to be associated with people who need God and whom he loves just as much as you. Is that what you mean to say? If not, phone a friend, call a believer, and make a change.